Death is the only solution to all problems. No man, no problem. France, such a terrible thought on March 5, 1953. A cruel dictator was killed, and thousands of people heaved a sigh of relief. The dictator we are talking about was Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin, who did not just kill anyone, he even left his family. No, you will be surprised to know that Stalin said he took the lives of millions of Russians. It is said that he crossed all limits of dictatorship, turning Soviet Russia into a bloodthirsty killing ground. But despite all this, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1945 and 1948. This fact was nominated for being as complicated as Stalin himself. This was Stalin's life, and much more than that. His death was complex and mysterious, which has puzzled hysteria still today. But after all, who was Stalin? Why was he given the status of a dangerous dictator? After all, what secret was hidden in his death that has not been solved to date? Was it natural death? Or was it someone's doing? We will try to find out all this in today's conspiracy. Let's start Stalin in the video. Early life. France. Stalin's childhood name was Joseph Joukashvili, but later on his name was changed to Stalin, whose literal meaning is man of steel. Stalin's early life was focused only on him and his mother. This is how Stalin experienced violence since childhood. The boy met his mother, who was a slave woman, and his father loved Stalin very much. To save him from cruelty, he ran away and raised money with great difficulty to get Stalin admitted to Gori Church School. However, Stalin was a quarrelsome child, and due to this, he faced punishment from teachers. Despite being jealous, he was brilliant in his studies. So he was sent to Tiflis Technological Seminary, where he got admission and learned about the secret thoughts of Karl Marx and other left-wing revolutionaries. From there, he got attracted to communism. Later on, he considered himself an atheist. Stalin's rise to prominence. France in 1900, Stalin actively engaged in political activism, participating in Russian political events from 1901. He joined the Social Democratic Party, whose purpose was to uproot the Tsar regime of the Romanov dynasty. Due to his involvement in demonstrations and strikes advocating for laborers, he found himself in jail multiple times. However, in 1905, he emerged as a hero of the Russian Revolution in Finland. During this time, Stalin encountered Vladimir Lenin, the leader of the Bolsheviks, and was greatly impressed and inspired by him. In 1903, the Russian Social Democratic Party (RSDP) was divided into factions, with the militant faction being named Bolsheviks, led by Lenin. Stalin joined Lenin's party and actively participated in revolutionary activities, including support work such as bank robbery and murder, leading to his repeated insurrections. This period marked the beginning of the cruelty that Stalin would later inflict on the people of the country. Another significant incident in Stalin's life occurred with the unprecedented death of his wife. During her funeral, he told people that there was no place in his heart for humanity, as his political career had taken precedence. Stalin's breakthrough came in 1912, when Lenin appointed him to the First Central Committee of the Bolshevik Party. He was also tasked with taking over the newspaper Pravda. In 1917, after overthrowing the fascist regime, Stalin and Lenin fled to Petrograd, present-day St. Petersburg. Here, Stalin protested against the government, laying the blueprint for the Russian Revolution. Due to his contributions, Stalin rose through the party ladder, reaching the rank of general from 1917 to 1923. After the Russian Revolution, Lenin's party consolidated its power, and Lenin, the first in the world, founded the communist state of the USSR. However, Lenin faced severe health issues in 1924 and eventually passed away. The question arose about who would take over Lenin's throne. The struggle for succession began between Trotsky and Stalin. Some historians suggest that Lenin, in letters from 1923, expressed concerns about Stalin's brutality and atrocities towards party members. He feared that the party might break up if Stalin came to power. On the other hand, Lenin had confidence in Trotsky, considering him a genuine successor. However, due to Lenin's failing health, he couldn't make a definitive decision regarding his successor while alive, sparking the beginning of a succession struggle within the Bolshevik party. By this time, Stalin had become the Central Committee General Secretary, wielding significant influence. The ideological clash between Stalin and Trotsky intensified over the future of the USSR. In 1924, Stalin introduced the notion of socialism in one country, aiming to establish communism in Soviet Russia first. This clashed with Trotsky's idea of the permanent revolution to export communism worldwide. The differences between Stalin and Trotsky escalated, leading to Stalin's gradual removal of Trotsky from the party. By 1929, Trotsky was expelled, and in 1940, he and his family were murdered in Mexico. By the early 1930s, Stalin had consolidated his power. In 1928, Stalin introduced the first 5-year plan to aim for aggressive industrialization. He initiated the Great Leap Forward, focusing on increased food production to achieve this. However, his harsh agricultural policies, including the collectivization of farms, resulted in widespread torture of farmers and food shortages. By 1930, Stalin had solidified his control over the country, leaving no one to oppose him. Collectivization was allowed to continue, but this decision proved catastrophic for farmers. Troubled by these policies, farmers protested fiercely against Stalin. In 1930, the USSR used brutal force, killing about 30 lakh farmers in an attempt to crush the opposition. However, this was not enough, as natural calamities led to a massive reduction in crop yields, causing a severe famine. Whatever little was growing went to the state, leaving people with barely one meal a day. From 1930 to 1936, approximately 60 lakh people died of hunger. Faced with the fear of losing power, Stalin took even more extreme measures to quell opposition. The Great Purge, also known as the Great Terror, targeted not only political opponents, but practically anyone in Soviet Russia. This atmosphere of terror was created by the secret police NKVD, who carried out executions and supervised prisoners and labor camps. The Great Purge had no boundaries, and practically no human being was immune to this terror. For instance, Sergei Kirov, a popular figure from Leningrad, was openly killed on the streets in December 1934. Some historians suggest that Kirov's increasing popularity posed a threat to Stalin, leading to his murder. Others believe that Stalin used this murder as a pretext to gain approval for the Great Purge. In 1934, Stalin eliminated 83 out of 103 generals of the Soviet army and killed 91 out of 149 members of the Central Committee of the party. Furthermore, he purged 30 lakh workers from 1936 to 1938. Millions of people were sent to prison camps. Anyone who opposed Stalin was put to death, along with their relatives. These labor camps were spread throughout Soviet Russia, with the highest numbers in extreme geographical and climatic conditions, including the Arctic, Eastern Siberia, and Southern Central Asian areas. The conditions in these gulags were terrible. Prisoners were usually forced into manual labor, faced extreme climate conditions, received meager food rations, and experienced unsanitary conditions. It is said that from 1929 onwards, about 1.8 crore people became victims of these gulags, and nearly victims never returned. By 1939, the fear of Stalin started to subside, but Hitler's attack on the Russians brought new challenges to Stalin's political career. The Nazis attacked Russia in 1941, but when they reached Moscow, they could not withstand the extreme cold weather and suffered a significant defeat. Despite the victory in Berlin and Hitler's suicide, Stalin's atrocities continued. Approximately 27 million countrymen were lost in the war. Yet Stalin remained a hero in the eyes of Russians. However, his health was deteriorating, and his depression grew. He spent most of his time in Moscow or a cottage in Konsevo. Mysterious circumstances marked Stalin's last days. His inner circle was with him, including Georgy Malenkov, Lavrentiy Beria, Nikita Khrushchev, and Nikolai Bulganin. Stalin's health declined, and he suffered a heart attack in 1951. There were accusations against his doctor of being a British intelligence agent. In 1953, Stalin's health worsened, and on February 28, during a meeting with his inner circle, he discussed the doctor's plot and accused Jewish doctors of being Western agents. His health further deteriorated, and on March 5, 1953, around 9 p.m. Joseph Stalin passed away. The cause of death remains unclear, and there are theories of poisoning. The funeral reflected the strong personality called around the cruel dictator, highlighting the impact he had on his fellow citizens. What do you believe we can learn from the atrocities committed by Stalin and Hitler? And how can we apply those lessons to promote a more just and compassionate world today?